Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Just Conspiracy, where we just wish to conspire with other good people to bring heaven down to earth. Cheers. I'm going to be doing a series about Allan and what's going on with him because it's vitally important that we make sure his rights are upheld. Because if they can violate his rights to privately contract with people, they can violate your rights to privately contract with people. If they can violate his rights to private property, they can violate your rights to private property. If they can violate his right to have a family when he's completely in the right, then they'll violate those rights against you. I'm really concerned. One of the reasons why I'm making this video, and I'm going to have it out before the video I'm going to publish later this evening, is so that everybody can know kind of what's going on. But it's also because Allan went to pick up his children yesterday, and one of them appears to be battered and bruised. And he's really upset, understandably. I told him if it were me, I'd go down to the police station because you don't know who battered him. It's pretty... There's probable cause that an assault happened of some kind. We debated on whether we were going to show the pictures or not. I'm going to go ahead and not, because I'm making that call. The girl is 4 years old. 4 years old. And of course, Allan's worried about how they're going to spend this. Use it against them. Somebody's already called DSS, so DSS is involved again. This is the state of where things have gotten. And I'm going to make this video as brief as possible because this is kind of like, hey, here's the hooker for why everybody should really start paying attention. And what I always do is I'm always trying to prove to y'all and prove to the general public that court doesn't exactly work the way they think it works. So again, I'm sitting here without much sleep. Sorry for my poor presentation. I'm working like all of our lives depend on it. I am working like all of our freedoms depend on it. And I really hope we start getting enough support that we can execute the duties and obligations we have to our Father to bring his kingdom to earth and restore it to him. But first things first, we just got to make sure that we keep families the right to stay together. So, Allan brought everybody together on February 17th to basically ask the court to just have Tamara stop breaking the law against him. Like, have her stop doing all of these things. Have her stop having her client file false allegations. Stop this vexatious litigation. It's kind of your duty, court, to control your court officers. And they wouldn't have the hearing because Tamara brought back up a bogus, unlawful, illegal, and fraudulent motion for contempt and a show cause order. And the reason I say all of those things is because they were stamped in at the exact same moment in time on the exact same day. And the process of law, your due course of law for something like that, is that the attorney writes a motion, puts a proposed order underneath it, files it with the clerk, at which time the clerk takes that and goes and assigns a judicial officer to review it. And if the judicial officer finds probable cause, then they're to sign the order and issue it. And that's when the order is supposed to be stamped in. So unless there's some type of fraud going on, I don't see how you can go through that entire process in 60 seconds. That doesn't make any sense to me. So because she brought that back up, they weren't going to hear Allan asking the court to just tell Tamara to stop breaking the law. They postpone everything.
And are there records associated with this person's testimony?
Should be, but they're not needed today. And Your Honor, I'm happy to take her testimony out of order if that's appropriate.
Why did you subpoena her?
Okay, so basically what's going on is because they're postponing everything, they're deciding whether they're going to take any testimony, and the DSS agent who showed up was leaving that area and was moving to a different area, so she wouldn't be able to come back. So they're saying, okay, well, we'll hear this one individual's testimony, and that's what they're talking about right now, just to kind of keep you up to speed and let you know what's going on.
Because I motioned us in today for the matter of having my children kidnapped. I've tried. They were gone for 6 weeks.
What
Part
did
of their
DSS employee?
part of their reasoning and rationale revolved around DSS, and I have subpoenaed the caseworker to come and testify that the DSS agency has been weaponized against me for the past year. And there's ample proof.
Do you want to go through with her testimony today?
I do, because like,
Huh?
Mr., are you talking to me or her?
You,
Yes, she's leaving. Today is her last day. And she said 4 or 5 hours away, so subpoenaing her to come all the way back would be probably kind of hard.
Subpoena the DSS records.
Hmm.
And even though we are going to continue the matters, Ms. Lee, you are in agreement with that witness testifying today.
Yeah, Your Honor, I have no objection to that, just to move this case along.
I'm going to go ahead and object to continuing my motion. I have multiple witnesses subpoenaed and witnesses that I have paid a great deal of money to be here.
I've already said we're gonna hear both matters together. Now, you've objected to hers, her motion, right?
Yes.
And do not want it heard today.
Correct.
Okay, so let me go ahead and explain what's going on right now. Because Gene Johnson allowed Tamara to put in that fraudulent motion that I just told you why I think it's fraudulent, they're not going to hear any of the matters today. Because the DSS agent is leaving, they're going to take her testimony. Allan had paid roughly $800 to subpoena in the therapist, because we record the DSS agents when we have conversations with them. We record everybody we interact with all the time. It's a court of record. How else are you going to prove these things? And this is why it's so vitally important for people to record the court, because I really hope everybody appreciates the video coming out later, because we show you on the record of the court and the court's own program all of the audio. That's how it's set up in there. And I would have done it for this hearing, except for the fact there's no audio on this hearing. Somehow, mysteriously, that when it was asked for, there was no recording. The machinery malfunctioned. Oops, sorry. Okay, but he can't bring in his witness that he paid $800 to have there. Sorry, we're not going to hear that today. We're not even going to hear you ask us to ask Tamara to stop breaking the law against you. Instead, we're going to keep allowing her to move this fraudulent and criminal action against you and keep you under threat that you're going to lose your freedom, property, and family because you won't worship us. Because you won't use one of our church members to represent you called an attorney. Because you, for some strange and crazy reason, believe in this idea of freedom. We're not going to let you do that. So we're going to reschedule it. We're going to reschedule it.
Okay, come to order. Court is back in session.
Court's back in session.
All right, I have been back there reviewing my March 28th calendar. This matter is going to be set peremptory. That means it will be the first case heard on March 28th.
This will be the first case heard on March 28th because it's been about 4 months, 5 months since this thing's been put in. Kim Gasperson Justice even told Tamara, good luck finding somebody to hear this. Good luck finding a judicial officer dumb enough to look at this after it's been called out for the fraud it was called out on. But apparently, I guess Gene Johnson, the only one we had any hope of being honorable up there, wishes to hear it. And that's really, really disappointing, because this is the thing about Gene Johnson. A lot of people put a lot of energy making sure that he got into office, and then he gets into office and he just turns out to start playing the game that people don't like. Can't beat them, join them. Now, the reason this is absolutely awful is because I went there on the 28th. Of course, I couldn't be there for that hearing you just heard because I got arrested because nobody could articulate the nature of the wrong and the cause of the accusation. They just wished to keep me from being there. So, we go in on the 28th, and one of the first things that they do is they pull this gentleman up and they say, hey, we can't hear you today or right now. We got a hearing for the court. It's big, scheduled for a while. It's going to take a minute. Lets him go. Tells him he can come back that afternoon. He can't come back that afternoon, so they continue it for him. Well, the first things they do, we're all sitting there like, okay, yeah, of course you got business to attend to. Of course you got a hearing to hear, because it's ours. Because you just gave your word. You, as a man, acting as a judicial officer, gave your word, which is a contract. You made a verbal contract with Allan, telling him that you were going to uphold his rights to access a court of law a month from now, which was actually like a month and 10 days, but on March 28, 2022. We all just heard you say it. In fact, let's all hear Gene Johnson make this verbal contract in an open court of law again.
I have been back there reviewing my March 28th calendar. This matter is going to be set peremptory. That means it will be the first case heard on March 28th.
Yep, that's what I heard. Verbal contract. We're going to uphold your rights tomorrow on March 28th. So then they let this guy go because they have a lot of other business to attend to. And then they call some other couple up that they're robbing, the legal society's robbing. It was tragic what they did to this man. Comes lunchtime. We're going to have to recess for lunch. Mr. Smith, you're going to come back at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Knowing that we always set your court dates up for Monday morning because we know that you are a truck driver who drives all night to deliver people packages, make sure their packages get there, because you're a truck driver like the honorable people up in Canada, the truck driving movement that got beat up by the federal police because they didn't know any other way to shut them down. So we know you're not going to be able to get any sleep or be in the right frame of mind. So you got to come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. after working all night and not getting any sleep to deal with these matters. Because we know that you got about 13, 14 people with you right now. And we don't want that many witnesses when we break the law. Criminals don't really like other people to witness their criminal activity. And we know that if we just wasted all of those people's time today, most of them aren't going to come back tomorrow because they're not getting paid. This is how we make sure that the public doesn't ever get involved with us stealing children and doing things with people, because whenever they show up with witnesses, we're just going to waste their day. And this is the entire reason why in every single state constitution it talks about courts shall be open, free and open to the public, and they shall have access to justice, and justice shall be administered without favor, denial, or delay. Delay being the key one there. See, because the legal society can postpone and put off and continue their own business until the end of time. I don't care. The whole idea of you having right to access a courthouse and have remedy immediately is the idea that when we go down to the courthouse, the legal society has to put all their business on hold until the entire reason that the court exists, which is to solve disputes between me and you, until that's solved, they have to have everything on hold. And in family court, they have the system set up where they promote, engage, encourage us to have these issues with each other. This is what's insane about it. And just to show you how criminal they are and why you should show up on March 16th, I'm going to leave with this. Here is a subpoena from Tamara Lee. Tamara Lee is subpoenaing Daniela Santos, which is Lucas's therapist, asking her to bring all of her handwritten notes, which is really interesting because with the Greg Newman trial going on, where was the proof that they contacted the family? Oh, it was a handwritten note just placed in the file. What was the proof that Athena Brooks, asked all these questions? Oh, she had notes on it. Just handwritten notes on a piece of paper. And because those are really, really easy to forge, to counterfeit. It's incredibly difficult to prove. So, anyways, when's the therapist that Allan had paid $810 to give her testimony, or $800 to give her testimony, because she was going to testify for Allan. Now, she's being subpoenaed to show up on March 29 of 2022 at 9 a.m., exactly when Gene Johnson was telling Allan to come back in after staying up all night. And when did she do this? This was signed on March 17, 2022. It was served on March 25th, 2022. So for over 10 days prior to Allan going to court, Tamara already knew that it would be postponed until 9 a.m. and to subpoena the therapist at 9 a.m. the next day because they already knew what they were going to do to Allan. Please get involved. Please watch this. If Allan loses, nobody has any rights, property. It's going to be insane. And if you're one of those people who think that the legal society and DSS is going to take care of it because the government is honest and open, why do they not wish for these things to come out? Why are they punishing Allan? And the whole fact is that it could have never gotten this far without the help of the judiciary and the legislatures and the executives. So tell me, who's going to fix your society? I'm going to leave with an audio clip of Allan asking the therapist to write a declaration so that he could take it into court for the protection order hearing because he didn't have time to subpoena her after they had conversations about how she thought he was a wonderful parent and she kept giving things to Katie to give to him and information for Katie to give to him, and she kind of presumed that Katie had not been. And then in this conversation, she kind of starts backtracking. So we just wish for you, Danny, to know that we have recordings of everything. So before you commit the perjury that I'm sure Tamara Lee tried to talk you into, Be aware of that. Be aware of that. Be aware people are watching. Anyways, we are just conspiracy, and we just wish to conspire, bring heaven down to earth. Stay tuned to the channel. Like, share, subscribe. Click that bell notification algorithm thing. Whatever. One world, love, and peace.
For tomorrow, I was seeing if I could get something. I mean, it can't really be used as evidence, but it could be used as kind of a good faith gesture, because, you know, Katie's sworn that you were the one that called DSS 4 out of the 5 times.
Mm-hmm. I have made reports, only, you know, because I'm not the DSS investigator. I am just, like, it's, the law for me is if I suspect or hear anything in regards to abuse or neglect, I have to report it.
Right.
And then from there, you know, it can be screened in or screened out. So, I mean, I make reports on all my clients' caregivers, like, every other day, it seems like, you know, because I have to, basically.
I have to for my job. I am a court forensics therapist. And I have to, if I wish to stay employed, report on half of my clients' caregivers every other day. Let that sink in for a minute. For all of you people who think that the government's just doing this for your best interests, why do they require by law, and why are so much pressure being put on these people to report people? You gotta start making up and pretending offenses at that point. Stay tuned. You're either gonna say the slave, or you're gonna be one.